Good morning, everybody. What's going on? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Media Company. And today's topic, you can see from the thumbnail, guys, we're going to talk about the 2022 NFL Draft and kind of the offensive line play for everything from tackles, guards, centers. Got a little bit of everybody broken down here. There are about 12 guys in particular I took pretty extensive notes on. So, pretty much my notes go over Evan Neal, Charles Cross, Ekwonu from NC State, my guy, Tyler Linderbaum, Raymond out of Central Michigan, Darion Kinnard, Kenyon Green, Daniel Faalele, Abraham Lucas, Zion Johnson, Luke Goedeke, and then Kellen Deesh. I hope I said that young man's name right because it's pretty difficult to pronounce. In total, guys, I actually went over like 23 guys. I mean, I went and looked at film and kind of took notes on guys like Abina Eze out of TCU, Abraham Lucas out of Washington, Rasheed Walker from Penn State, Donovan West, Jackson Kirkland, and Dylan Parham from Memphis. I was everywhere, guys. I was literally everywhere looking at everyone, pretty much. I came away with a couple of really big takes. And I'm not going to keep you guys waiting in suspense to give you my thoughts right away on pretty much the title of the video in the thumbnail, right? I want to talk about, I hope I'm saying this young man's right, his name correctly, but Faalele. So Daniel Faalele. The notes I just have on here, guys, just real quick, let's just go ahead and get right into this. The first thing I said was, holy cow, he's freaking massive. Fundamentally flawed as it gets, guys. I would love to have Caleb and Jalen, two collegiate offensive linemen that I know that position very, very well. I would love to have those two gentlemen run film on him because I'll be honest with you. I mean, technique-wise, there's a lot to be desired here. He's got a lot left to go here. Yeah, he's not quite ready for the NFL, in my opinion, yet. With that said, this dude is so massive at 6'9", 380 pounds. Like, he's crossing into territory of guys like Jordan, Jordan Mailata and Mekhi Becton. And, you look at guys like Orlando Brown from back in the day and Jonathan Ogden, Alejandro Villanueva. There's only a certain amount of guys that are that big, right? I mean, to be honest with you, he's not the only guy in this draft class that's big like that. To be fair, Evan Neal from Alabama is also a massive human being as well. 6'7", 340, 50. He's up there around what you get from a Jordan Mailata type. Both of these young men are really, really big guys. But what I said is that he's still very raw as a prospect. I see some issues here still with this set. But with that said, he's so massive, defenders just cannot get around him. I mean, simply put, they couldn't get around him, and he only gave up 8 pressures on the season. 5 hurries. Quarterbacks only got really knocked off their spot 5 times. And then 1 sack. 1 sack on the year, man. Fundamentally flawed. Athletic as crap. There's clearly similarities to Jordan Mailata. They're both Australian rugby players. They're both incredible athletes. This guy's 6'9", 380. I mean, he's freaking, we're talking almost super, human, like superhero, level stuff here, ladies and gents. I thought that the dude played a lot in the running game in the gaps. So they pulled him a lot. When I say gap, guys, what we're talking about is pulling a guy. You're pulling him. You're pulling guard, tackle, that kind of thing, center. They pulled him a lot. And I got to be honest with you. This draft class has a couple of really good guys that I think fit gap schemes very well, but overall it's not there. There's a lot of guys that are just not gap blockers in this draft class, to be quite honest with you. But to be honest with you, Faalele, he's definitely one of them. The athleticism is there to use in a gap blocking scheme. There are a ton of similarities outside of the connections to rugby in Australia and the inexperience playing football. I mean, physically and athletically, yes, there is some very, very clear similarities to Jordan Mailata. But here's the thing, and I want to caution people. I'm not saying that Daniel Faalele is going to be Jordan Mailata because there's one huge difference here. Jordan Mailata ended up with the right offensive line coach. Now, I'm not saying that Jeff Stoutland is the only offensive line coach in the entire NFL. Of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, we are very, very fortunate to have them. There are other guys that can do this as well. But my point being is I definitely think that Daniel, Faalele, he has to end up with the right – he's got to end up with the right coaching group. Or else I think it will kind of go down as a disaster. There's a lot to learn here. I do think that he's ahead of the curve compared to Jordan Mailata, because, Jordan Mailata was just kind of like stepping onto the scene into the pros. I mean, at least this young man's got some years of college experience to kind of lean on here to say, like, okay, I'm getting a feel for this game. I kind of get it. But yeah, he's going to need that really, really upper tier level coaching. But in terms of the athleticism, guys, and just a massive human being, yeah, I mean, like, there's no doubt about this, guys. Like, straightforward, guys. I mean, this is like a Jordan Mailata clone almost, bigger. It's like you took Jordan Mailata and you made him even bigger. Love what I saw from him in the running game. Like I said, guys, I still think is pretty raw in the pass pro, but in the running game, I think he's an absolute monster. He plays nasty. He's got the attitude. He knows he's the biggest dude out there, and he plays like the biggest dude out there. And it showed up in gap blocking, man. He was just absolutely destroying folks in gap blocking schemes. So, yeah, definitely interesting, guys, to see him on film. Now, what I will say, I love Daniel Faalele. I think, Faalele, whatever, I can't say his name, guys. I think he's definitely one of those guys that's going to get drafted high. He's one of these dudes that'll probably be overdrafted just because of his physicality and like who he is as a player. But he's not the only person that popped on me on film. And I want to talk about Evan Neal for a second, because Evan Neal, like, I was trying to go through this and I was trying to say, okay, in my opinion, who is going to be the first player that comes off the board? That's a really hard discussion to have, guys, because to be honest with you, I don't know. I think between Evan Neal, Charles Cross, and Ekwonu, it's close, guys. It's real close. It really depends upon what that team wants. What is that team looking for, right? Evan Neal is another massive human being, okay? 6'7", like 350 pounds, right? He's right there with Faalele in terms of, like, just how ridiculously big this man is. Like, I'm not calling this guy a young man. He's just a man. I mean, 6'7", 350 pounds. I'm not trying to meet this guy in the street. He's really decent in pass pro. He's pretty good in run. He can block. He's got tons of versatility. This is why I think that Evan Neal might be the first guy that comes off the board, is because he's more than just a massive human being. He's like really versatile. He can play 4 out of 5 alignments on the offensive line. He can play guard. He can play tackle. I think he can play left. And I think he can play right side. He's just very versatile. And he's just one of these guys, kind of like, bigger dudes beat up on little guys along the line kind of feeling to him, right? I mean, he plays the game kind of nasty. And, like, I honestly caught myself going back and wanting to see if I could find film of him and Dickerson together, just because Landon Dickerson and Evan Neal are just nasty football players that were on that Alabama line. Evan Neal, from what I could see in 2021, he's ridiculous, guys. I would not be shocked if Evan Neal is the first player that comes off the board. In terms of the physical numbers, guys, they had him graded in 83.6 in pass pro, which ranked about 47, top 50. I still think there is some development there with a big guy, tall guy. He's got some work to do there. But with that said, you combine that with his 80.4 run support, which ranked 33rd, and you can see that he's a very balanced player across the board of what he can do, right? Another one of these massive human beings, so he only gave up 15 pressures on the season. It's because, you got to really run around a dude that's, 6'7", 350. That dude eats up a lot of space. 2 sacks he gave up on the year, 5 hits, 8 quarterback hurries. Those are really respectable numbers for a young man that's playing in Alabama in the SEC with the target on your back. And not only are you going to play the best of the best in the SEC, you're playing in the postseason more than likely at Alabama. So you're going to play pretty much the best teams across the board. I thought Evan Neal was pretty good, guys. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the first player that comes off the board, to be quite honest. Now, the counterpoint to this would be about Charles Cross. Charles Cross, another SEC guy, played at Mississippi State. A really good pass pro guy. I was shocked at how good his film was in pass pro. That dude was not good in 2020, man. I don't know if Jalen and if Caleb, if you guys got a chance to watch his 2020 film, Charles Cross wasn't that great. He just really wasn't, guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Charles Cross went from giving up 44 pressures in 2020, guys. This is the numbers, raw data. 44 pressures in 2020 to 16 in 2021. That was the mark of improvement that young man had from one year to the next. He's a really good pass pro offensive lineman. And by the way, he's really good in run blocks. He's a really good run blocker. I mean, 87.2 gives you the zone blocking ability in the 83.2 grade. And he's athletic enough to do gap blocking, right? 70.9. I don't think that if you looked at Charles Cross's film and then you watch the guy like Faalele, sorry guys, you would see a big difference there. But Charles Cross is athletic enough to do both things from the running game. get up on the second level as a tackle, get in on a double team, doubling that edge rusher or whatever, 4-eye technique, whatever you want to call it, and then getting up to the second level and reaching that second level. I do think that Charles Cross has the athletic ability to do that in zone blocking, and it does show inside of his film and his tape, guys. In terms of gap blocking, like I said, the athletic abilities are there. He's not quite as nasty a finisher as like Faalele is, but look, he's good, guys. He's just a good offensive lineman. I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw a lot on his film, and I said, hey, dude's pretty good, man. He's definitely pretty good. All right, the next guy I want to get into is Ekwonu. Ickey Ekwonu, NC State. My guy is the nastiest finisher I saw run blocking. And I know that I'm an NC State homer, guys, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I'm telling you, from my eyes, this dude was a absolute dominating force in the running game. What Ekwonu can do to dudes in the running game is just nuts. And, like, I'm going to tell you the stat you're going to hear about Ekwonu the entire freaking month of April. They're going to talk about his big-time blocks, man. He had 18 big-time blocks. In terms of the Power 5 conferences, guys, he wasn't just the leading dude. I mean, nobody else is even in the stratosphere with him. I mean, this dude in the running game is exceptional. He's incredible. I still think he's got some work to go in terms of pass pro. I do think that there is a possibility that he's going to get bounced inside as a guard, and that might hurt his value a little bit because, if you're picking top 10, you probably really want a left tackle in that position group, although, Lane Johnson became a right tackle for us, and we've been more than happy with that top 10 pick. But Ekwonu, to me, does have some work to do when it comes to his pass pro sets. With that said, he's still a very good athletic guy, a good guard tackle kind of combo dude. He was a 7th graded, run blocker, but like I said, I honestly think he was the best run blocker in the country. I don't even think it's close, guys. In terms of his ability in zone, what he can do in terms of doubling that in, that guy, where be an interior if he's bouncing in guard, be the edge rusher if he's on the outside, and then getting up to the second level, he's incredibly athletic, guys. And he's just mean. He's got a nasty streak to him, and he finishes dudes off. He's a really, really good gap blocker too. Like I said, I'm not trying to compare any of these dudes to Faalele and some of these other guys just because physically, like, those dudes are just on a different level than everybody else playing the game. But he finishes, man. He's athletic and he can finish. He can gap block. In terms of if you're a dominant running team, I'm thinking like Baltimore and Philly and some of these other teams, Tennessee. He's the type of dude you want on your offensive line because he's nasty. Probably can play 4 out of the 5 alignments. Probably can play guard and tackle, and he definitely can probably play left and right side. I don't see any reason to suspect he wouldn't be able to do that. I love this film, guys. And I know I'm an NC State homer, guys. That's where I went for my undergraduate degree. I love this film. Absolutely love this film. All right, let's get into something about Tyler Linderbaum. I watched the film. Jalen and Caleb, man, I can't help but tell you guys what I saw. All right, let me get into this. This is what I thought of Tyler Linderbaum. The dude is dominant on an inside zone. He's such a good inside zone blocker. When his assignment, Tyler Linderbaum's assignment, is to basically, you're doubling the interior defensive lineman, and then you're climbing up as the center. You're climbing up and you're cutting off the backside there, linebacker, whatever it is at that second level. I thought Linderbaum was probably one of the better centers I've watched in quite a long time doing that. But I'm going to tell you, I see what you're saying, Jalen. I see what you're saying, Caleb. I saw it. I saw it too. On gap blocking, he's not Kelsey. He is not Kelsey. That conversation's got to stop. He's not even close to being Kelsey. He's not fast enough. He's not very good in gap blocking. He doesn't have the requisite athleticism yet. Maybe it'll kick in, but the twitch, that quickness to get off the ball and get out there, it ain't there in gap blocking, guys. I'm not sold that he's a top 12 pick. Maybe a team takes him just because of how valuable centers are, and like that dude is a good prospect. I'm not saying he's not going to be good in the league because, like I said, in zone blocking, that dude's really, really good. One of the better guys I've watched film on in quite some time. But I don't think it's all the way there for a top 12 pick. I got a feeling that's a guy that, as you kind of head into the Senior Bowls and the combine testings and the pro days, and scouts get more and more of a chance to see a look on him, I got a feeling he's a dude that's still going to get drafted really high for center, but not as high as people were thinking. I did not love his film in gap blocking. He wasn't athletic enough for me. I didn't like it. But I will say this. About him. It was nowhere as bad as Kenyon Green in gap block. And Kenyon Green, guys, is not a good fit for Philly. I'm sorry, guys. He can't gap block worth of crap. Kenyon Green, super strong human being. Moving on to the next guy, guys. Super strong human being. This dude in zone, when we're talking about doubling the interior alignment or sealing off backside, depending on how the blocking scheme goes, Kenyon Green is a man amongst men. He's strong, super, super strong. Not super, super athletic, man. He was absolutely horrid to watch gap blocking. And they didn't ask him to do it too much because of how bad he was. The athleticism's not there, guys. I don't think that he's a good fit for Philly, guys. We would have to basically – his only role would have to be more so inside zone, and he's a seal-off guy. I just don't think the requisite athleticism is there. I mean, we can make the arguments that, you know what, Nate Herbig's not that dude either, but somehow Jeff Stoutland gets these dudes to play above their athletic abilities. I get it, guys. I don't think he'd be my first choice, though, to be quite honest, guys. I don't see the ability to block and gap schemes with Kenyon Green. I thought that was highly overrated with him. Super strong dude. I mean, no doubt about it, man. If you're in the right system with him, he's a Pro Bowler in the right system. I don't think you're going to get him out on the edges roughing somebody up. I don't see it, man. He's too slow, man. Everyone's going to beat him to the point. There's just no doubt about it in my mind. I didn't see it. But still a good football player, guys. I'm not saying he's not a good football player. I'm just saying there's a clear limitation to him. All right. Someone I want to talk about because I think that this offensive line, it's, obviously we're not talking about Power 5 conference here, but Central Michigan's offensive line, if you guys have not had an opportunity to go watch film of Central Michigan's offensive line, take the opportunity, guys, and go watch Central Michigan's offensive line because I got to tell you guys, between, I believe it's called Raymond is how you say his name, Bernard Raymond, the tackle they have out there, who's ridiculously a good blocking football player out there, and Gadecki, who's a guard for them, who's a ridiculously good run blocker. That offensive line is really, really good. It's really good. There's definitely, you'll definitely fall in love watching that offensive line. You'll be like, man, those dudes can play. That might be a smaller school, but those dudes they know how to produce offensive line. I'm going to tell you, man, he's a very, very good in terms of pass pro. He's the 9th ranked guy. He only gave up 10 pressures on the season. He's one of these guys that I don't know if he's a senior. I didn't get a chance to look yet, guys. I should have looked before I came on. But if he's a senior and can play in the Senior Bowl and gets that Senior Bowl practice week and dominates Power 5 dudes in the Senior Bowl, I can see that young man climbing boards very fast. I thought that his film was quite good. Now, level of competition, yada, 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 so forth and so forth. Of course, that's why I'm saying Senior Bowl. If he gets an opportunity to actually match up, like I said, I don't know if he's a senior now. I didn't get a chance to look. But if he has that opportunity, he's one of these guys that can absolutely climb boards just because of the underlying skill set really, really being there with him. I want to get into my underrated player pick. I think that this young man is the most underrated player from everyone that I've watched. And he's an SEC guy. So I don't know how he went underneath people's radars because he played good competition. All right. Darion Kinnard, Kentucky. Holy crap, that dude's good. He's super good, guys. I honestly think if that dude's floating around in the 2nd round and you're the Eagles, oh, man, we don't really need him. We don't need him. I'm not saying we do, but, yo, he's good, man. Dude only allowed 7 pressures on the season, guys. This pass pro is ridiculous, man. Super good at pass pro, super good in run blocking, really good in zone systems, crazy athletic. He can get out there, and he's very good in gap blocking. He's so underrated amongst his draft class, guys. I definitely think he's one of the top 4 or 5 best offensive tackles in this draft class, hands down. Super underrated football player. Darion Kinnard from Kentucky should be a lot higher than what he is, to be quite honest, man. He's a super, super good football player that is being slept on. I thought he should have gotten far more consideration than what I've heard reported from the media yet. But I will say this, being underrated in the media does not mean you're underrated by the scouts. So got to wait to see how that kind of all plays itself out, guys. Probably, if you guys ask me who I thought was the best pass pro, tackle that I watched film on, it's always suspicious. Jalen, don't come for me because I know what you're going to say. It's Pac-12. Buyer beware. Look, University of Washington's tackle Abraham Lucas, I should say, guys, sorry. Abraham Lucas was really, really good in pass pro. Ridiculously good athlete. I think he's a good value pick if he ends up in the 3rd or 4th round. Only gave up 9 pressures on the year, 8 hurries, 1 hit, no sacks, man. Didn't give up any sacks. Super good movement. Good movement guy. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say who he reminds me of because, you guys are going to cast stones at this young man before he ever steps on an NFL field, but the guy he reminds me of is a little bit of Andre Dillard in terms of the physical movement. I'm not saying that he won't play the right side. He's never played the right side. He's not going to play the right. I'm not saying all that crap, guys. I'm just saying that from the way he moves his body in pass pro, that's who he reminds me of a little bit. He reminds me of Andre Dillard a little bit. He's definitely got the footwork. I thought he was really, really good. And then I wanted to name a couple of really good run blockers for this discussion, guys, and we'll kick into the comments, guys. Run blockers who I thought were nasty and probably don't get as much publicity as they should get. Zion Johnson, Boston College, nasty run blocker, guys. I like Zion Johnson a lot. I loved what I saw on film from Zion. Pretty good in zone, pretty good in gap. I don't think he's not as dominant, in zone blocking. Like, you're not going to get Green. He's not quite what Green is in terms of like the Kenyon Green in terms of just the strong point, sealing off guys and cutting off the whole backside of a D. He's not quite that, but he's good. He's a really good football player. I think it's a guy that, mid-round, even if late round, if he ends up slipping somehow to, like, I don't know, say slips into the 5th round or later 4th round, that's a dude I think that could surprise people, right? I think he could be one of those guys that turns out to be a really good football player. The other person that really stood out to me on film, Gadecki. We already kind of talked about him a little bit. Luke Gadecki from Central Michigan. Like I said, man, I really loved that Central Michigan offensive line. I thought it was really good. Gadecki was super athletic on film, guys. I thought that young man had a couple of really, really marquee games that stood out to me, but he is incredibly good in zone. I mean, one of the better blockers in zone. And I'm talking about, even if you compare him, he's not as physical as Kenyon Green, but when you compare him to like Kenyon Green and some of these others, like really, really good zone blockers like Tyler Linderbaum, some of these dudes that are just, he's right there with them, guys. He's that good, Gadecki. He's going to struggle with the fact of the level of competition. He's another guy that, if he's a senior, would greatly benefit from playing in the Senior Bowl. And I haven't looked to see what the Senior Bowl rosters were. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, guys. So I don't know if he's going to have that opportunity. But that young man was just as good in zone as he was at gap blocking. Athleticism's there. He's a dude that super value pick, man. I don't know if he somehow slips under the radar, and I don't think he's slipping outside of the 4th round. I highly doubt it. I think he's a 3rd round pick personally, but somehow that young man ends up sliding in this draft class because of Central Michigan, helmet. That's a guy that I'd like to see Jeff Stoutland get his hands on, just because of just how good he is in run blocking, from playing zone to basically playing gap. I think that young man is a good football player. I think he's drastically underrated. If you haven't had a chance to watch that offensive line, I can't say it enough. And I'll give you one more underrated player. It's complicated. It's the Pac-12. Chill out, Jalen. I'm going to say just chill out, John, before we can get there. But Arizona State's Kellen Diesch. I don't know how you say his name, guys. Sounds very, I don't know, like the Netherlands area. Kellen Diesch or whatever. Drastically underrated. Only gave up 8 pressures on the season. He's also a really good run blocker. I'd say he's an okay to slightly above average athlete. That's probably more so the issue here with him. But in terms of the film, I was impressed with his film. I thought he was definitely a capable athlete. I thought he was fairly good in run block and pass pro. So he's a guy that I thought kind of went under the radar, guys, to be quite honest. I thought he was a very good football player from the film. I mean, there's a lot of dudes I watch film of, and there's some that are super, super great measurables that the film doesn't match the measurables yet. But, you get them in the right system. Think of Matt Pryor, to where he's just a massive human being. If you get him in the right system with the right coaches, and you can make that guy into an actual player. I mean, that dude was still one of the better players on the Colts after we traded him out of Philly, Matt Pryor. But, you got guys like Abina Eze from TCU, very, big dude like that, really, really big guy. Not polished, guys. He's definitely a work in progress from what I saw from film. Rasheed Walker from Penn State, same kind of thing. Big guy, big typical tackle type body frame to him, but I don't think that the footwork's there. I don't think that he's technically sound. I think that's a guy that needs a lot more work done. But I mean, if you get him in the right system with the right people, maybe maybe he'll be something. I thought that Petit Frere, I don't know how you say his name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. He's a Big Ten player. I thought he was a really good run blocker. I just thought the only thing that was holding back Frere was the fact that he's not very good as a gap blocker. He's not quite as dominant as like a Kenyon Green, where Kenyon Green's so dominant, so physical, even though he's just crap at gap blocking, he's so dominant that you can use him. I don't know that Frier's film is quite the same, and because that gap blocking is better than Green's, but still not what I would call great. I don't know where he's going to fall in the draft, but I still think he's probably second, third round value. Maybe he slides down, though. He could be one of those guys that slides down to the fourth round or so. But that's what I thought from what I saw from the offensive line. Now, I'll admit, there's a lot of linemen in this draft class, guys. I couldn't possibly watch film on every single guy. I am still going through. When I put out the big board, you might see some shakeups for me to where I might change my mind about certain guys and their value and where I think that they should rank on the big board. That's because, like I said, guys, I've watched film on about 23 of these dudes. I probably need to get a good film study on about 30 to 35 of them. So I still got 7 to 12 dudes I need to run film on, to be quite honest, guys, if I'm going to be honest. But, yeah, I mean, definitely I was impressed. I think this is a good line draft, to be honest with you. I definitely think it's a good line draft. All right, y'all, let's get into some comments. What's up, Takeem? How you doing, buddy? Good morning, guys. Let me get a drink of coffee, y'all, because I'm dying here. All right, BMO Careful. What's good, buddy? Faalele is my guy. Would love stop to get him ready to take over for Lane. Man, that dude is massive. He's a massive human being, BMO. Like, he stood out to me on film right away of like, holy crap, who is that dude? And that dude is huge. Isaiah, what's up, buddy? He said, good morning, fam. What's up, man? How's everybody doing this morning? Big Moose, what's good, buddy? How you doing, man? Big Moose said, what a treat this weekend. 2 great games. Yeah, man, that Cincinnati and Kansas City game, back-to-back weeks with Kansas City, those were crazy, crazy good, man. What's up, Michael? How you doing, buddy? He said he would be an upgrade over Herbig at right guard for sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. I like Nate Herbig. I think Nate Herbig is really good. But, yes, I would say that there's several upgrades in this draft class overall. Antonio, what's good, buddy? He said getting in early. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys tuning in, guys. I know that 9 o'clock is a little early, but I figured there's really no one in this, this avenue, this lane right now. So it's a good time to kind of set up and do this. Cree, what's good, man? How you doing, buddy? Takeem said Faalele can't play guard. He's sitting behind Lane for at least 2 years. I don't know that the Eagles are drafting him, Takeem. I can't see that happening. But, that'd be 2 massive human beings if it did happen. I don't expect it to happen. I really don't expect that. Trent Brown, you talking about massive human beings? Yeah. Ogden and Orlando Brown, all of these guys, man. They were all huge dudes, man. They're all gigantic human beings. Antonio said Stoutland would get him right. David said Evan Neal can jump too. Yeah, he's crazy athletic, man. I think Evan Neal might be the first guy that comes off the board. I can't say with real confidence because, scheme fit and things like that do matter. And I would have to really watch the teams that are probably slated to take offensive linemen and see who would be a better fit for them. But at the same time, man, he just, the versatility stands out about him. He's very athletic. He's another one of these massive human beings, just like Faalele. And that dude is very versatile along the offensive line. What's up, Andrew? How you doing, buddy? Says Steven, can you elaborate on your guy, the offensive lineman that is already on the Eagles practice squad, and why you are so excited about him? Yeah, you're talking about the guy that I'm the president of the fan club of. So Coyote Owasika played at Buffalo, and I thought that Owasika had a really, really good athleticism and very good, versatility. A guy that can play guard, a guy that can play tackle. I thought that he was pretty nasty in the running game. I didn't really get a chance to say what I would think about him in terms of, gap blocking per se, but in terms of zone blocking, I thought he was pretty good at the point of attack and then working his way up to the second level. Andrew, I just thought that he was one of those guys as an undrafted rookie free agent. I felt like it was a miss on organizations not drafting him. The Eagles got really lucky plucking him out as an undrafted rookie free agent. If I was a team, I would have probably spent a 7th round or a 6th round pick on him because I do think that controlling his rights would have been in their favor. But yeah, I mean, I thought the requisite athleticism and then the requisite, versatility was there with him. He just felt like a Stoutland guy to me, Andrew, to be honest. Jalen Williams said, Daniel Faalele is a good prospect. In the running game, he can make guys feel like children. But his leverage is awful. I agree, man. If you get your hands into him first, he doesn't know what to do. Yeah, he's very inexperienced, guys. It definitely shows up the inexperience does, but he is a man amongst boys at times out there, man. It showed on the film. Like, he was getting nasty out there. I was like, okay, he's got it. He's got that instinct. The instinct is there with him. Takeem said he's a solid second-round pick. Faalele isn't getting out of the second round. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not going to say he's a first-round pick yet, Takeem, but I would not be shocked in the back half of the first round if someone doesn't take him just to control him and know that in 2 years they probably got a guy that you don't find those dudes coming through the NFL very often. Like, I could see it, man. Jalen said his pass blocking was terrible. He lacks instincts. He constantly oversets because he gets beat by speed rushes so much. He struggles to move backwards, and hand placement isn't the best. I agree, Jalen. And then the other thing that, like I said, that I noticed about him is that because he's such a massive human being, he got away with a lot. Just because you got to really work your way around somebody that big. Jalen said a simple wrap up for Daniel Faalele. Moves well going forward, but if he has to make any type of adjustment, he is in trouble. Run or pass. Needs to learn leverage and to stop relying on power. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he needs the right offensive line coach, Jalen, to be honest. I think he needs the right offensive line coach. I would love for a guy like Stoutland to get his hands on a guy like Faalele, just see what he could do with that type of prospect. But you're right. I think if he ends up in the wrong place with the wrong organization, doesn't have the right offensive line coach to develop him, it could be a disaster. But on the flip side, he ends up in the right place, man. That's a Pro Bowler. Jalen said, as an Eagle organization, I take a chance on somebody. If it's not too high, might also move him to guard as well. Jalen said, it might be a reach in the third, but I believe in giving Stout toys whenever he wants those said players. I agree with you, man. Like, in Stout, we trust, right? If Stoutland says, go get this guy, he's probably going to be good. Stoutland's had a really good eye for judging guys. Takeem said, if we can waste a second-round pick on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who isn't a starter, then I wouldn't be upset drafting Faalele in the second round and have him sit behind Lane for 2 years. Hey, fair. That's very, very fair, Takeem. What's up, Cree? How you doing, buddy? He said, what are your thoughts, if any, on Salyer from Georgia and Obina Eze from TCU? So I didn't get into Salyer, and I'll get to Salyer, guys, when I get into like film breakdown stuff. He did cross my radar. I did have a chance to see some of his snaps. I will say that Obina Eze, very Matt Pryor-like to me. He's not quite as big as Matt Pryor. You know, Matt Pryor's like 6'7", like 330. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Obina's a little smaller than that, but I kind of viewed him as kind of a Matt Pryor type prospect to me. Takeem said, I'd put Faalele in on goal line sets. Yeah, just move the guy in front of you. Jalen said, watch Matt Hennessy at Temple, then watch Linderbaum's film. Tell me how you feel. Will do. Takeem said Linderbaum is a late first-round pick at best. That's normally where you see centers go. Because he's so good in zone, Takeem, I could see him going earlier than that, but I don't buy the top 12 thing, man. I'm starting to really, really waver on these guys projecting him as a top 12 pick. I just did not see it in gap blocking. Zone blocking, that dude is really good. He lacks the requisite athleticism as a gap blocker. Takeem said Kenyon Green equals Jason Peters 2.0. Very physical, very tough, strong at the point of attack, man. Definitely can set the backside, of a defense, can stop any momentum and cut it off backside. So play slide can just flow right through. Inside zone, man, he was good. He can work up to the second level if you need him to. He's really, really strong. Not gap blocking, man. It ain't his strength. It wasn't there on the film, man. NMC East B said, good morning, Gorillas, Gates Gorillas. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing this morning, man? Takeem said Kinnard isn't getting past pick 51. He's a top 40 pick. That's the thing, man, is like when I watched film of him, Takeem, he stood out to me. I wouldn't be shocked if Kinnard doesn't slide into the first round. I can't see how that guy's not a first-round pick to me. I mean, I know that Dillard was really, really good in terms of you watched him, and you're only watching the film of the way that he moved, his movement, his ability to move. I get that Dillard had high-level attributes that you don't always see, and I understand all that. But if Dillard was a first-round pick, man, I got to think that Kinnard has got to at least be in consideration. because, man, he was so good, man. Yeah, I got you, Antonio. Yeah, he is really good, man. Yeah, Kinnard was the one that I watched film of, and I came away going, I don't know why I haven't heard of him before. I should have heard of him before because, holy crap, the film is good. Cree said, if you see this more than once, I apologize. For some reason, my comments aren't posting. What are your thoughts on Cellier from Jordan? Yeah, he's strong. He's a strong guy. I'm going to get into it, guys. There's some guys, like I've only really watched 2 games of them. It's really hard to break down 20-some people, guys. Like, he's coming up. We're going to be very offensive line and defensive line heavy in evaluations this year. After this week, we're going to be jumping in. We're going to be jumping right into those player profiles, guys, for the draft. So it's all coming up, guys. It's all coming up. NFC's B says, so from what I've watched so far, I see 4 blue chip players this year. Hutchinson, Hamilton, Neal, and Gardner. Huh. I like your list, man. I like your list. Bernard Raymond is on the national team. Jalen said, I don't care what conference they come from. If they can play, they can play. Also, I look good on my Slater over Saul. Oh, yeah, Slater over, Penny Sewell. Comments, not to brag or anything. They both turn out to be pretty good, man. Yeah, they both turn out to be pretty good. Gadecki is on the national team. Oh, there we go, man. Is Lindstrom coming out this year, Takeem? He's good. Lindstrom is very good. I'm not sure he's coming out this year, though. I couldn't tell if he was coming out or not. I mean, guys, let me know, and I'll definitely do a draft profile on him, but I couldn't tell if he had declared or not. Gadecki surprised me, guys. What's up, Troy? How you doing, man? The Gambling Hippie said, can you fill me in a little bit on who Daniel Faalele is? He's a former rugby player from Australia that went to the University of Minnesota. Very, very big measurables, guys. I mean, this dude's bigger than arguably are. I got a feeling that the weight and the size that they list Jordan Mailata to be is a little light of the truth. But he's listed at 6'9", 380 pounds, Daniel Faalele. He's a former rugby player. He's nasty. One of these guys that needs work. He's not a finished product, guys. He needs a lot of work. But in terms of the physicality of what he is, man, there's only a few dudes that come into the league like that. Troy said, I know you're talking about linemen, but I have a question about linebackers. Who would you take, Lloyd or Dean? Difficult to say, Troy. I mean, to me, it really depends upon scheme, and it depends upon what we're doing in free agency. I really don't know what our scheme's going to be until we know what happens with Houston and whether or not we're going to get, Jonathan Gannon back as the defensive coordinator, or are we going in a different direction? Depending on what we do in terms of free agency, if you're trying to get more athletic at the mic and you want that pass rush ability, then, Dean, Nakobe Dean's your guy. If you're looking for a guy that could potentially be a Sam linebacker, still give you the pass rush ability, decent coverage guy, he can play, he can thump, he can hit, then, probably, Devin Lloyd's going to be your guy. To me, they're both really good players, man. Drew said, what up, coach? It's 6:30 here in Cali. You are the man. Hey, I appreciate you, Drew. That is some straight up commitment, man. Thank you for tuning in that early, bro. Appreciate you, man. Andrew said, team seeing the success the Eagles had with Mailata, I believe somebody will take a chance on Faalele early in this draft. You're probably right, man. You're probably definitely right with that one. What's up, Elbet? He said, what are we going to do with Lane Johnson? He ain't going anywhere this year, man. I think Lane's on the last year or two he's got left in Philly. Contract is pretty big, man. Dead money's pretty big. I highly doubt anything happens there, to be quite honest. Natiro said Goddard could have been a Pro Bowler if the Niners won. Now Jake goes instead. Big Moose said Giants finally got it right with their GM and head coach. You see them turning it around over there? You guys know Brian Daboll was the #1 candidate on my list last year. Mine was Brian Daboll, Arthur Smith, and then it went Nick Sirianni. I predicted Nick Sirianni would be the head coach it was like 24 hours or so before he took the meeting, and then it kind of materialized overnight that evening. So I mean, I got kind of lucky with the timing of how it all worked. Yeah, man, I definitely think they got the right head coach. I think they got a good GM. It really comes down to Daniel Jones. Is Daniel Jones the guy? To me, Big Moose, I mean, it's all going to hinge on Daniel Jones. Because if Daniel Jones is not the guy, then you're just wasting another year trying to figure out your quarterback situation. NFC East B said it's kind of a deep corner class. If the Eagles don't get a free agent corner, they can get a decent one in the second or third. But I think it should be the second priority behind an edge rusher. I hear you, man. Big Moose said, why don't the Eagles implement a fullback like other teams? I don't know that you really need a fullback in today's league, to be honest, Big Moose. I think that they look at Jack Stoll kind of like that dude. He's kind of like plays the H-back role. This idea of an H-back being like a guy that has kind of tight end abilities, kind of lead blocker abilities, that kind of ordeal. I think they view Jack Stoll in that kind of role. Now, I think the better question is why don't they just play more two-back sets? You know, that's something I would love to see them do more of. Takeem said, I can see a team like the Bengals drafting Kinnard at pick 31 or 32. Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense, Takeem. I would agree. Natiro said, Gate, I saw a list in which Super Bowl finalists of the last 10 years have mostly great wide receivers while pass rushers are overrated. Are they though, Natiro? Because as good as Jamar Chase played, Patrick Mahomes being disrupted in the pocket played a large role in that, guys. He got uncomfortable and did not play well because of the pass rush. Dre, what's good, buddy? He said, I've asked myself that question over and over. My bad, man. What up, Gate? This is Hurt season. I lost my other account. Oh, what happened, bro? What's good, man? How you doing? I'm sorry to hear you lost your other account. Andrew, that's a heck of a question, my guy. Do you see a future for Diller here on the Eagles, or do you feel he is marked for a trade bait? It takes two to trade, you know what I mean? Like, so I can't say that he's marked for a trade per se, but I think it would be in the best interest of both both parties here to separate. Because I do think Andre Dillard is a starting tackle in the league, and I don't think that he has the versatility for the Eagles to play swing tackle. So, I mean, maybe you could develop him into a swing guard and he just plays the left side, and I think that would be good enough for at least one more year. You're probably not going to pick up his fifth-year option like that, but I don't hate him being moved and gaining picks. I also don't hate if he comes back and you just use him as a swing guard and tackle on the left side, and you got Driscoll as your swing guard and tackle on the right side, if that makes sense. Takeem said Alex Lindstrom is coming out this year. He's good. He's a good player, Takeem. I'll have to break down film on I wish I'd have known that, or I would have added him to today's conversation, but I didn't realize that he was coming out in the 2022 draft. As for Faalele, no one would better benefit from Stout. Yeah, man. Faalele, what round? Right now, projected Richie as a second round. Would not be shocked if he doesn't get picked in the first round late, just because I think teams are going to want to control him. They're going to want the opportunity to pick him, and they're going to want to get ahead of these teams that maybe go skill position or pass rusher in the early first round, and then you still got a prospect like Faalele hanging around in the early second. They're going to try to probably. I would expect some jockeying coming up into the back end of the first round to go get Faalele. And the other guy that we talked about, who I think is drastically underrated and I think should be considered higher on the list, is Darion Kinnard. I wouldn't be shocked to see Darion Kinnard, Faalele, and then there was one more guy I was thinking about that I thought was really good. I wouldn't be shocked for one of those two guys in particular, Faalele and then Darion Kinnard, to climb up into the back end of the first round. Because if they're there early in the second round, man, there's going to be a melee to go get those dudes. Because that's incredible talent for early second round. Dre said, laugh out loud. Yeah, I'm in Cali too. We rock for you over here, Gates. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys because it's definitely an early morning call, guys. I appreciate you guys a lot for doing that. None of these linebackers are Parsons, but I see one of the others in the top 15 regularly. Do you think it's the lack of top talent in this draft? I think there's top talent in the draft. I just think it's in pass rushers and like certain position groups. I think Nakobe Dean may not be quite Parsons, but I think he's a respectable like guy that you should be, that should be on people's radar. He can rush the passer. Nakobe Dean is a pretty tremendous athlete. Devin Lloyd, I think, is a really good all-around guy. I think he's just an all-around linebacker. I think he's the type of linebacker you want in the modern NFL, where he's still physical enough to come up and play the run, but athletic enough to play inside the passing game. To be in pass coverage, I should say. But yeah, I mean, he's good. Takeem said Faalele is projected to go in the top 60 picks of the draft. Yeah, I would be really shocked if he slipped past the second round because, dude, that would be I can't see it happening. I cannot see that happening. I really can't. Yeah, Takeem said that the top 60 pick normally means that's a solid second round value on a guy. El Bet said if he's there at 51, that's a solid pickup. Andrew said rugby players love physical contact. Now that the Aussies have discovered American football, I expect a bunch of those guys are going to play college football like the many Polynesians are doing. Hey, take it, man. We'll take it because some of these dudes are the athleticism behind them is just ridiculous, man. Bishop Matthews said, would hate to trade 19 any team get a franchise quarterback like we did with Baltimore a few drafts ago. You mean trade backwards? Yeah, I mean, look, I think that depending on what the draft, how everything falls, I think that's a better option because this draft has plenty of players here. You could pull really good players out of this draft, even if you trade back and you can keep acquiring picks. And I definitely think that's I don't want to lose picks inside the top 50. I'm not saying move back beyond the top 50. I think you got to be careful with doing that. But if you can keep 4 picks in the top 50 and maybe even acquire a 5th pick in the top 50, or at least acquire a 5th pick that'll be gain you in the top 50 in the following year's draft, 23s, I would be definitely in favor of that. The Gambling Hippie said, when is Dillard's contract up? I could see him taking over for Johnson in 2 years, but he needs to solely train that right with how bad he has played there, in my opinion. I don't want to project if he can or can't do it. The Gambling Hippie, that's really hard to say. He was drafted in 19. You're on a 4-year contract with a 5th-year option as a first-round pick. So, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this will be his 4th year. So at the end of this year, they would have to decide whether or not to pick up the 5th-year option for 23. So this is probably why I would think that if you're going to trade him, this is the year you trade him because the team that acquires him has him on a rookie deal for 1 year, and then they have that 5th-year option to control and try to get a negotiation with him if he turns into their starting left tackle, and plays well. You know what I mean? Like, I think this would be the year if you're going to make that, if that's what's going to happen, this is the year for it to happen, if you will. Richie said, what caused Pat Mahomes to press so much at the end of the first half and almost the whole second half in overtime? Sometimes I think teams just have your number from a scheme standpoint, what they're able to do. But I also think that just like last year to where pressure got to him, and it was a different form of pressure, but when pressure gets to Mahomes, we see that Mahomes does kind of look human, right? Pressure can make any quarterback, I think, look human, to be quite honest. Look what happened to Aaron Rodgers last week. I shouldn't say last week, 2 weeks ago now. When he got pressure in his face, he wasn't the same guy. Channing Tindall's a poor man's part. Yeah, he's athletic as crap, Takeem. He's the other Georgia linebacker. He's really, really athletic, man. There's an inherent athleticism to him that's probably a little underrated too, to be honest, Takeem. I think you're onto something there. Have you seen a gap talent at positions like center this draft, like Linderbaum to the next guy? I don't know if I'd say anyone's like truly talented in terms of a gap blocking scheme. I would have to really look into some of the smaller schools. I don't want to say yes or no here, Bishop, because you got to count for the guys that are a little bit under the radar, right? The Todd Harrimans of the world, these guys that played at, Saginaw Valley, I think is where he played, something like that. So, I have to really get into the film and get into some of the prospects coming up to say how I feel about them. I will say that Linderbaum, in terms of the gap blocking, was bad. It wasn't as – I won't say it was bad. It was average. I think it's a better way of saying it. The twitch and the movement off the ball wasn't what I expected it to be. But in terms of zone blocking, so doubling up on the interior defensive lineman and then climbing to the second level, I thought Linderbaum was as good as I've seen any prospect be at that position at center. So, it's a little like kind of give or take of like what you want to do with him in terms of the game. I just felt like I felt like after I really was made aware of what to look for on film, I mean, I got to credit Jalen Wheeling and Caleb, two former collegiate offensive linemen, for telling me, Gate, you got to look at things differently. You got to look at these are things you need to take into account when you're viewing the film and you're judging a center. After I kind of, then he was like, yeah, I see their point. Like, being able to borrow guys like that's eyes to know what to look for is incredibly useful, because then I kind of immediately understood what they were saying. What's up, James? How you doing, buddy? He says, good morning, coach. Love your knowledge of the game. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Troy said, I think we need to go after Christian Kirk. Hey, man, I got to give my guy 500 credit, man. 500 gave a really good suggestion. Like, Christian Kirk is a solid suggestion. As a fallback guy, a dude that has relations back to the coaching staff, somebody even pointing out in my comment section, like, hey, Gate, straightforward, like, not only does Christian Kirk have a relationship with Aaron Moorhead at Texas A&M, he also he was under Kevin Patullo there too. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, that's something to know about Christian Kirk, because it makes sense, right? Mike Williams has connection back. Zach Pascal played his best football of his career underneath Patullo and underneath Sirianni. So, I mean, I think that one makes some sense, right? I mean, I'm not saying that those dudes are as good as some of the top line guys. I mean, yes. I mean, would I rather have Mike Williams? Would I rather have Devontae Adams? Yeah, of course, man. Like, no doubt about it. Chris Godwin, like, absolutely. But I think you got to be, you got to have those names. You got to have the fallback plan. And I think that, to be fair, I think Christian Kirk is better than a fallback plan, but I definitely think in terms of a 1B option tier group of guys, I think he deserves, consideration. Bobby Murphy said most OCs that become head coaches like to bring in a quarterback familiar with their system. I think Dable and Schoen might want to bring in Mitch Trubisky to help or compete with DJ. God, I hope not, for their sake. Well, for the Eagles' sake, sign us up. Bring him in. Where's Mitch Trubisky? Bring me that UNC easily picked off quarterback. I'll take it. Yeah, from the Eagles standpoint, yes. From the Giants standpoint, oh boy, I would love to watch your live stream, Giant fans. All topic, Jake Elliott going to the Pro Bowl. Well deserved, man. Jake Elliott had a heck of a season, didn't he? What a way to turn it around, because I thought he was cooked after last year. I was like, oh boy, I really liked Jake Elliott, but man, he played like crap last year. He played really good this year, though. I gotta give the guy credit. What's up, Show Enough? How you doing, buddy? Dillard and Isaac Seumalo trade worth. That one's a tough, because I think both of those guys are potentially on the trading block. I'm not going to say they 100% are, Richie, because obviously I don't know what the front office wants to do. But Seumalo, like, the question is he your future center? Seumalo has that twitch and that ability to pull. He can play in a gap scheme, right? He is a little bigger than Kelsey. I don't know that he sees the game the same way Kelsey does, and that aspect of things might be a little different going forward with him. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to judge the guy's ability to diagnose, blocking schemes. I really don't know his ability to do it. With that said, I do think Seumalo, I could see competing at right guard even, or being the future center. So I don't know how the Eagles view it, but I definitely think he'll have trade value. I think teams that need a left guard or even a center will look at Seumalo and say, hey, like, what would it take to get this young man? Me personally, I probably wouldn't want to move Seumalo for anything less than a third or fourth round pick. I do think Seumalo is that good. I would hold firm on a third or fourth round valuation for Seumalo. He's still young. The biggest problem you have with Seumalo is he's got to stay on the football field. Outside of 2019, the only other season he was really healthy was 17, when he was like barely playing, because he was, it was pretty much like his rookie. Well, it was his second year in the league, but he wasn't playing as much. And he finally got in the game when injuries occurred. Then he started becoming kind of a guy that you could depend upon. But, Seumalo in 17 played like tackle. He played guard. I mean, they had him all over the place. So I don't know how the Eagles view that one. Andre Dillard, I think at this point, man, if someone gives you a third or even a fourth round pick for Dillard, I think you got to consider it. I'd definitely would take a third. I think at fourth round valuation, I think you really have to consider it at this point. BMO said 2 prospects I want to know what you think of. Matt, I don't know how you say his last name, from San Diego State, and Brandon Smith, Penn State. Like Brandon Smith a lot. Need to watch film on Arazier. I don't know how you say his name, to get from San Diego State. I don't have a good understanding, BMO, to give you like insight there. Brandon Smith moves really well for his size. Better than people think. Brandon Smith is the guy in the second, third round. I don't know where his ultimate value will be. I think he's going to be a second-round pick. But if he's there in the third round, second round, you really value linebacker, you think the Eagles got to get better, I think Brandon Smith's better than people know. And I'm not a Penn State homer, guys. I'm an NC State guy. So, I mean, I have no connection to Penn State. I think Brandon Smith is really good. What's your list of the top 5 guys the Eagles should pick if they fall? Trying to project falls are really tough, but I'll say Stingley and Ahmad Garner. If those two fall, you go get them. Kyle Hamilton. If he falls, you go get him. Ooh, pass rusher. That's where it gets tricky. I highly doubt Hutchinson's going to fall. Thibodeau. If for whatever reason Thibodeau falls, the inherent athleticism is there, and he's had good college production, probably not what we wanted him to have. I mean, I really thought Thibodeau at one point would be one of those double-digit sack guys like clear cut, but it never really kind of materialized for him, although I do think he's really good and he's athletic. Thibodeau, I think, should be in consideration if he falls to go get him. Gardner, Stingley, we talked about Thibodeau, we talked about Hamilton. Let's see. That's the thing, is like saying fall. Would Nakobe Dean at 15 or 16 be a fall? I don't know. I don't know if I call that fall. If he's there at 15 or 16, I do think that Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd should be considered. Now, if they fall to 19, I think that's a fall. Then I think, yes, like at 19, if Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd is still there, I would probably take that pick. I'd probably make that pick. So, I mean, that's kind of the way I would look at those guys. Now, one guy that you might say, Gate, it's not a fall. This isn't falling. But I think it is falling because I think he's a clear-cut top 12 pick in this year's draft class. The young man from Arkansas, the wide receiver, super good yak receiver. If he falls, because I think that's a top 12 pick, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I think by the time the combine comes around and testing and pro days and this young man, people start seeing what he can do, I think he's going top 12. For some weird reason, he falls and he doesn't go top 12. You climb and go get that young man. Faalele guard or tackle? I think he's a tackle. I know Jalen said he felt like he could play guard. I definitely think he's a tackle at 6'9", 380 pounds. What's up, BLSG? How you doing, buddy? I'm doing really good this morning. I hope you are too, man. We should try to get 31 and 34 from the Lions. Shonuff said, after watching this wild postseason, are you set on waiting on Hurts? Do you even think he'll come close to what we've seen? I don't know, Gate. I'm impatient, to be honest. I can't project what he will or won't be. Shonuff, it's difficult to say. Should the Eagles remain patient? I think they should. You should not be out there chasing quarterbacks right now. If you were only a quarterback away, Shonuff, then you chase it when you got this kind of draft value, right? I mean, if plugging in Aaron Rodgers put you into the Super Bowl, plugging in, Russell Wilson put you in the Super Bowl, then I think if you were in the Rams situation, I think you go do it, right? With that said, I don't think we're in the Rams situation where you can just plug somebody in and make the Super Bowl like that. So, my opinion, it's, you got to factor in the money, the draft capital you got to give up, how much of this roster needs to be rebuilt, how many of these dudes are going to definitely not be on the team in 2023. To me, I wouldn't chase that, man. I would give Hurts one more year to see if he can play in rhythm. And I really think the biggest issue with Hurts is he's got to start learning how to progression read and play in rhythm. That's really the biggest concern here, man. Getting into that rhythm step and getting the ball out of your hands, reading the leverage, getting it out of your hands, not hesitating and then waiting for a guy to get open to throw it. That's really where he needs to be. I think he's gotten a lot better at playing on schedule. I think he's getting so much better at keeping his eyes down the field. I think he's still a little hit or miss, to be fair. I think he's a little hit or miss in terms of showing patience in the pocket. I do think that there are still times he evades or leaves the pocket when it's not necessary. There's still some work to be done there, but I would give him this year to at least see it. If it ain't there this year, then I think that's why you maybe take one of those picks this year and you trade back into 2023 to give yourself leverage if you have to. Dre said, in addition to Hippie's question, do you believe Dillard can be cross-trained? I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm the best representative to ask that to be honest. Dre, I think that's more of a like Caleb and Jalen question, guys that have played the offensive line, in high school and collegiately. It's not really my position group. Do I think he could? I mean, I think he's plenty smart enough. I think he's athletic enough to play the right side. I think it's just really a matter of getting the muscle memory there, playing the right side compared to the left side. But I couldn't tell you from any kind of experience or playing nor coaching how long it takes to build a guy's muscle memory to that extent. So, he's already going into the 4th year of this contract. I don't know, man. It's really hard to say. Love him, man. Andrew, love Muma. That dude's film is really impressive. He's a better athlete than I thought he would be. Really good in pass coverage, and he can rush the passer. Love his film. Would love to pick him up in this draft. You wonder about Muma tackling NFL athletes? Hey, man, I thought he had a really good film. I'm not going to lie. Shonuff said he thinks Tyndale kind of resembles Deion Jones a little bit. In terms of the speed and the athleticism, I can see that. He's very fast, man. Yeah, man. Treylon Burks, to me, dude, is just someone that both of these guys are good, Mad Hatter. I don't think you go wrong with either guy. I know that some people get concerned about USC receivers, but to be fair, USC receivers have produced recently. Michael Pittman's good. Amon-Ra St. Brown was good. Even though we hated Nelson Aguilar, Nelson Aguilar is clearly an NFL caliber wide receiver. So it's not like they've fooled anybody with fool's gold a lot recently. You know what I mean? Like, you can argue that maybe Nelson Aguilar was more of a 2nd round kind of guy, not a 1st round kind of guy. And I get that complexity of that argument, but all those dudes turn out to be pretty good. You know what I mean? Amon-Ra St. Brown's been a really good selection for the Lions. Michael Pittman in the 2nd round was an incredible value. I still think that Nelson Aguilar is an incredibly underrated route runner. I think he's one of the better route runners that we hate to admit as Eagle fans, because it wasn't his route running. That was never the issue with him, man. It was something that just wasn't switching on internally. But, I mean, I think Drake London's going to be a good player in the league. But I think Treylon Burks, it just depends on the style you want to play. Treylon Burks is probably the yak guy in this draft class. His ability to gain yak is unlike anything outside of maybe Deebo Samuel, to be honest. Oof, David, what do you think you have to give the Giants at 7 to get Gardner if he's still there? Man, I don't know if they'll trade with us, especially since we leapfrogged them for Devontae Smith last year. I mean, we could say it's a new front office. It's a new coaching staff. Maybe they'll be more amenable to working with the Eagles. To go from 15 to 7, I don't have the draft value chart in front of me. You can look it up, guys, to see the estimates. I'm going to take a wild guess. You're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks and some other kind of supplemental value, whether that's 2022 draft picks, whether it's, I don't think you got to give up 3 first-rounders, but I definitely think you're going to have to give up 2 and probably something in 23's draft, or you're probably looking at maybe 1 or 2 more top 100 picks in 22's draft, or a player. I don't know. Maybe you can attach a player to it. Maybe you can give up 2 first-rounders and Dillard. Maybe give up 2 first-rounders and say Amalu. I don't know. It's hard to say, guys, but I definitely think that it would cost you something to get up from 15 to 7. Antonio said, don't trade Sayamalu. We need depth. We already lost 1 guard to retirement, and everyone trying to trade Sayamalu and Dillard. That is too much. I think it just depends upon what you get offered. You know what I mean, Antonio? Like, I think Sayamalu could potentially be your starting center post-Kelsey. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to keeping Sayamalu around. I do think that the issue with Sayamalu is it's health, man. Outside of 2017 and 2019, he hasn't stayed on the field, really. What do you think our starting offensive line combination could look like next year? BLSG, I'll admit this is very early, so I can't say definitively, but I'll give you best case scenario is a very simple one, which I think is going to be what we had at one point this year, which is at left tackle you got At left tackle you got Mailata. At left guard you got Dickerson. At center you got Kelsey. At right guard you got Driscoll, and at right tackle you got Lane Johnson. And then you got a really good, six man off the bench here in Seumalo. You got another kind of really good guy, seventh man off the bench, if you will, in terms of, Nate Herbig. You got Andre Dillard if you don't trade him here as that tackle. We'll have to see. I mean, Brett Toth, I do think had to have surgery, didn't he, guys? I think he required surgery, right? So I don't know where Brett Toth will be, but I thought Brett Toth was looking like a really good guard tackle candidate, swing tackle kind of candidate here from not swing tackle, guard tackle candidate here for that kind of mobility. I don't know where he's going to be at health-wise because if he did require surgery, that's got to be taken into consideration. So if you move Dillard is what I'm saying, then you would just kind of slot. I would slot the guard tackle to be, essentially that would probably be not Pryor, but you guys get what I'm saying here. And then on the right side would probably be Owasiko or the young man that they got from the Colts last year, the big kid that I still think needs to develop. I didn't see it all the way there. He's giant. He's a humongous guy, like 36-inch arm reach. He's a humongous dude, but maybe Owasika. I think they're high on Owasika. I think he could be a guy that gives you that guard tackle flexibility too on the right side. And then you got Brett Toth with the guard tackle flexibility on the left side. You got Herbig and you got Seumalo inside to play center guard. I mean, I think that's kind of the way I would look at it. If Kelsey retires, Seumalo to center, in my opinion, is what I would do. I know some people want to move Driscoll or they want to move Dickerson there. I'd say don't break something that's don't fix something that's not broken. I would just say keep Mailata and keep Dickerson on the left side. That's a dominating left side. Move Seumalo to center if Kelsey retires. And then I would have Driscoll and I would have Johnson on the right side. And I think you still got one heck of an offensive line there. Shonoff said, I like the idea of getting a physical wide receiver for the slot. I believe Quez is good enough to start at the two as a flanker on the field side. Antonio was kind of right on cue with this. Are they sliding Dickerson to center when Kelsey retires? I mean, ultimately, I don't know, Antonio. My gut instinct says no, that he's going to stay on left guard and that the future center would be Seumalo unless he's traded. I mean, that's how I would probably break it down and think that it would kind of work itself out. Sam Shady said, I think if we target Allen Robinson and actually bring him to Philly, we might actually have the talent offense to make a Super Bowl run again. I like Allen Robinson. I mean, Allen Robinson he's a good football player. He's a really good contested catch guy. To be fair, a lot of the reasons that he has to make contested catch those that he doesn't have, he's got really good short area speed. He's not a very good deep speed guy. So that causes some of the contested catch situations with him, but he's got the frame, the body. He's really good at gaining ball position. I think he's got the inherent athleticism. If you put him in the slot with that tall frame and that short area quickness to be a Keenan Allen type, to be quite honest, he's not quite as good a route runner as Keenan Allen, but he is a very good route runner. But yeah, I mean, I like him, guys. Matt Hatter said Kirk had a 5.8 drop rate and is only 5'11". I'm in favor of Christian Kirk, guys. I would not hate that at all. Trubisky is definitely headed to New York. Man, if he becomes their starting quarterback, that would be funny. I would love it. NSCSB said, I thought the Eagles should bring in Biscuit too. He needs a quarterback whisperer. I'd trade Dillard and Seumalo. In my opinion, Dillard isn't worth a fourth-round pick, and Seumalo is worth a fourth to early fifth-round pick. I mean, me personally, Takeem, I would not give you a tackle for less than fourth round. I think that would be a bad move on the Eagles' part. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to give you a starting left tackle for anything short of a fourth-round pick. Seumalo, I'm not going to give you a guy with the flexibility of center guard who's clearly a starter in the league for anything less than a fourth. To me, I'm not moving off of those dudes for anything less than a fourth-round pick. I think they're that good. Now, Seumalo, Dillard's not flexible. He's, you're not going to be able to get the versatility out of him on the right side as of right yet. And of course, Seumalo, you can argue the injury side of it. And I get it, but I just wouldn't move on for those dudes for anything short of a fourth round pick. I think you'd be giving someone incredibly too good of a deal. Bishop said, I keep getting roasted on other creator streams for saying we should play Smith in the slot some to escape press and team's best cornerback. Thoughts? I mean, it depends. I mean, some teams will have a cornerback that will travel, so they'll travel with them to the slot. I would say that the idea of playing somebody in the slot, to some extent, you have to have short area quickness, which I do think he has. But I also think it has to do with bringing you closer to the formation. So, in essence, bringing you closer to the formation can sometimes bring you closer in terms of like getting you in the reads. I will say that you will see times like if you go back, what game was it? Was it Denver? It was one. It was in the mid-season part, like Denver, that area, guys. There was a game where they went tight to formation. He wasn't in the slot, but they brought him in tight to formation, and it was just a little RP. Well, it was actually play action. It was a little play action pass there to where they just basically hitched Devontae for a first down. Devontae Smith. That might have been the Giants game, actually. I think it was the first Giants game where they hitched him for a first down. So it was a little bit towards the back end of the season. I was wrong in that, but you can see like the concept and the theory behind it, Bishop, in terms of that. But I mean, they want their guys to be flexible enough to play outside and inside. Troy said it's going to be a sad day when Kelsey retires. 100%, guys. Lemonade T said, love Isaac Seumalo's versatility and upside. I'd be hesitant to trade him unless the value was great. I agree. What's up, Showing Up? He said, I understand the drop rate for Kirk, but that height don't mean much. One of the best wide receivers this year is going to be about 5'11", 6 foot tall. Well, to be fair, 5% drop rate's not as high as people think. NFC East B said, I'm hearing a late second, early third for Dillard. Howie wants a top 50 pick. Well, if they get an early third, it'd be a little outside the top 50. I can understand why he wants it. I'm not too sure he'll get that, but he might get a third or a fourth rounder for him. Chase. Kaiir Elam would be a perfect complement to Slay. Rager's drop rate was 7% if you want to compare. Shonuff said, I want Hamilton, but I don't see us getting him. I take Dean or Tyndale and Sauce with the first two. Tyndale might be there. You're not getting Sauce, guys. I can tell you that right now, Shonuff. You got to climb up for Sauce. Sauce is going to the top 10 picks, guys. Treylon Burks is who I was referring to, guys. Yes. Burks is your favorite receiver in the draft. Have you done any research on Carson Strong? Yes. Big arm quarterback. He's definitely got the arm talent. His deep ball's a little off, though, even though he's a big framed guy. Not a ton of mobility. I don't know how much he's going to last in terms of the pocket breaking down. I don't think he's as bad as the young man from Florida last year that I watched film on. Can't remember his name. The young man that Brian Johnson worked with at Florida. I don't know why his name is slipping me right now, guys, but he's not quite as bad as that. Where when the pocket broke down on him, he was just a sitting duck. But Carson Strong is, not quite the greatest athlete. Got to get better with his throwing base on passes over basically 25 yards. It happens a lot with young quarterbacks, guys, but sometimes the guy that has the arm of Carson Strong, it gets taken away because of their throwing base on those passes. He needs to get a little better there. But if you look at things like the far hash mark throw, so, throwing a timing route, 10, 12-yard route from one side of the hash mark to the outside on the other, outside, field side, basically, you can see it. I mean, there's arm strength there. He's a good football player. Level of competition will always be a concern with Nevada. But, I think he's a good prospect if you're looking at second, third round guys. Have you looked at any free agent that can replace Brandon Brooks? No, not really, BMO. I got a feeling that like if the right guy's there with the right value, they probably would do it, BMO. But I think that they feel good with Driscoll in terms of being that right guard. The only problem I have with Driscoll is the same problem I have with Seumalo. They're both phenomenal players. They can't stay healthy and stay on the field. Driscoll needs to stay on the field, man. 2 straight years. He's played really well, but yeah. NFC HB says, that's funny. I have Burks as the number 1 receiver the Eagles should target. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, guys. I don't. I wish it did. I hope he's there at 15, 16, or 19, but I think he's going top 12, guys. I just think when teams start to see his testing and they see his film, he's not sliding, I don't think. I think, if anything, you can say he's going to rise up the draft boards. Thoughts on taking Tyler Linderbaum round 1? Really good zone blocker. I probably hard to say. I mean, look, BLSG. There's worse picks they can make. There's far worse picks than Tyler Linderbaum. I think he's a little overrated in the way they keep trying to say that he's Kelsey. He's not Kelsey. The initial release, that twitch that you have as a lineman on gap blocking is not there, but he's a phenomenal, just a phenomenal zone blocker. His ability to double the interior defensive lineman and climb the second level, that part of his game is Kelsey-esque. But the pulls, the way that you can get a guy downfield and that athleticism, just hammering dudes down there, it ain't there with him. He doesn't have that ability. Still a good center, man. He's one of the better centers I've saw come out in a little while. And, sometimes you get lucky and guys will slide and you get really good value. I mean, the young man that played at Oklahoma, who's a lefty, he's a left-handed center, who went to Kansas City. I mean, he's a really good center. He came out last year's draft. Kelsey could possibly retire next year, and our backup centers are all trash. So, in my opinion, I disagree with that perspective, BLSG. I actually think we got some really good options at center, guys. I think you're discounting how good Dickerson could be as a center, how good Driscoll could be as a center, and how good Sayamalu could be. Those three dudes are not trash at playing center, guys. I'd have to disagree with that one. What's up, Eric? How you doing, buddy? Show enough said it would be nice to get another first next year. However, I would trade one of those first to acquire more draft capital this year. There's a lot of talent left in day 2 and 3. I think it depends on what trade you're trading out of and how far a team's jumping up. Say you have Gardner, Burks, Linderbaum, Dean, and Lloyd available. Which two are you looking at 15 and 16? Which one should the Eagles be looking at? I would say Gardner. I would take Sauce. I would take Sauce in that situation. He's the best player out of that group. What will they do? Hard to say. I mean, I don't think Linderbaum is necessarily going in the top 12 picks. I don't think it's happening, guys. I'm not going to say that I can definitively say that, but I'm just saying I don't see it on film. I don't see a guy that's going to not only buck the trend of centers getting, taking inside the top 20 picks, which hasn't happened in a long time, but then to buck that trend into the top 10, I don't see a guy that's that nuanced in terms of the ability on film here. I think Nakobe Dean is incredibly athletic. I think that, Devin Lloyd is just a solid all-around linebacker. I think Burks is a guy that you could take into consideration knowing the Eagles. They just watched Jamar Chase help put Cincinnati into the Super Bowl. So I would say that probably out of the guys you named, Gardner and Burks would probably be really high on the Eagles list, I would say. But I think their priority is going to be towards pass rusher, in my opinion. I think they'll look pass rusher if they can find them. Dillard isn't a phone booth guy. Don't be surprised if the Eagles get a second or a valuable player for Dillard. Look, I'll take a second NFC East beast. That would be great. Hurts is showing the same weaknesses he had at Alabama, holding the ball too long, a lack of ability in finding his receivers, but I'm willing to go one more year for him, hopefully to improve. With both Super Bowl quarterbacks being first overall picks in their draft respectively, do you think a team like the Washington football team or the Giants will trade up with Jacksonville and reach for a quarterback with the first pick? Hey, that would be a really good thing for the Eagles because that would be a huge mistake if they do that, because that's not something they should be in on. Not this quarterback class. And I'm not saying this quarterback class is that bad. I just don't think there's a clear-cut, number one overall pick dude. Coach, Mechie or Williams, which one would you choose in your opinion? It's scheme dependent, James. You can't really look at these guys in the absence of scheme and where they fit. I think Williams is really intriguing for the Eagles just because of trying to add the speed element to it. He's a good route runner. I think he would be a good fit here. I don't think that he gives you that boundary side size. He's not a boundary side X-line receiver, but yeah. You forgot Juju. He's better than everyone from USC. No, he's not. Juju Smith-Schuster should not be even talked about alongside of Michael Pittman, man. Michael Pittman's better than Juju right now. Love Daniel Faalele with the 19th pick. I think it's a little too high, Chris. I wouldn't take him with 19. That's a little too high. Williams by far. Natiro said, be careful with the Yak guys in college if they have trouble with separation and only are known for Yak. It's a bad indicator like N'Keal Harry. Right, but you're talking about the two guys you're naming are SEC or not SEC guys. So I would say number one is that he didn't have trouble separating. He's very fluid in his hips. Treylon Burks. He did pretty good at the top of the routes and separating. He's not JJ and he's not N'Keal Harry, guys. Those were Pac-12 guys. He played in the SEC where there are bona fide first-round cornerbacks, and he took advantage of them. I would be all in on him, on Treylon Burks. Trade Dillard for Calvin Ridley. I'd go get Gardner at pick 9 from the Broncos. Dillard doesn't have enough trade value for Ridley. You're probably right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe, set the bell to all notifications. Follow on Twitter. Thank you, Dirty Kenzo. I appreciate you, bro. How you doing, Kenzo? Want to help this awesome content get out to the masses? Become a member. Click the join right next to the subscribe on the main page of the channel. iPhone users go to YouTube through Safari. Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. Kenzo, you're the guy, man. I appreciate you, buddy. Trade a second, Rager and Dillard for Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's a good player, Chris. I'm not going to say that he doesn't drastically improve your receiver core because he does. $11 million for Calvin Ridley on a 5th-year option is incredibly affordable. I think that's an incredible value there, but I can't say the Eagles are going to do that. I have no clue, guys. Even if we did, I still wouldn't trade for Ridley. I get OBJ. Yeah, if he still really wants to come here, guys. I mean, look, he said he's not opposed to coming here. I like OBJ. I think OBJ definitely improves your wide receiver core. I think that's a definite. I definitely think OBJ is pretty good on in-breaking routes, which is something I think the Eagles need. I think we need a guy that can get separation and win on these in-breaking routes. With that said, I would love to have a guy with a little bit more size, a guy that could potentially erase mistakes. OBJ's got very solid hands. He normally can secure catches that you wouldn't think, but I wouldn't call him a big radius guy, catch radius guy. Kenzo said, where did this portion of the fan base come from that wants to trade or sign guys in their second half of their careers as opposed to drafting and developing someone? And it happens, man. I think they're watching the success that the Rams had. Put Quez at the 2 and get physical wide receiver to play the slot that can block like JJ. We extended LaRaven Clark for what? LaRaven Clark's a monster, man. He's a big dude. Still got to learn pass pro. His pass pro is pretty horrendous. He's a big guy. They like him. He played at Indianapolis. They're familiar with him. I think Stoutland, if they extended him, it's probably only Stoutland's, advising him to do it. He gives you right guard, right tackle versatility. I think he can even play the left side. I think he can play 4 out of 5 positions. So still got some development to go, but I certainly get why they would do it. NFC's B said the Eagles have to hope other teams fall in love with some of these quarterbacks so they can get a better player trade back, or they fall in love with one. Yeah, I agree, NFC Beast, that every time a quarterback gets selected, it's working in the Eagles' favor because it's just pushing the board down. That's where you can definitely get value at 15, or target a guy that is floating around 12, trading up a few spots to go get a guy. Certainly, guys, certainly. SPB said to go to football. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much, man. What's going on, everybody? You guys are really overvaluing Dillard in the chat. He's not worth more than a 4th-round pick. Wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles only get a 5th for Dillard. He can't play right tackle, and he's not an offensive guard. Daniel Faalele could be Johnson's replacement. Maybe. Andrew said, yes, leave the left side of the O-line alone, hands off. Takeem, a 4th is generous. That's the facts, Takeem. What do you think the Wan'Dale Robinson kid? I didn't get a chance to see him, man. To be honest, Trey. I haven't had a chance to really watch film of him yet. I'll let you know as I get a chance to watch film, and I'll give you, what my take is on him. Robinson's going to cost like $17 million a year. Not necessarily, Mad Hatter. That might be a little overboard for him. He's coming back from an injury, and to be honest with you, he's got some issues in terms of the long speed. I don't think he's a $17 million a year player. I think that he's still going to be expensive. He's certainly going to cost you more than 10. I think the market would have to drastically change for him to climb to 17. LaRaven Clark, what kind of 6 offensive lineman can he be? He's a versatile guy, Richie. He's a guy that he's played the left, he's played the right. He can play tackle, he can play guard. He gives you the versatility to play 4 out of the 5 positions. I will say the Eagles tend to favor him more so on the right side than the left side. It's not there in pass pro yet, guys. This pass pro needs to be worked upon. He's not there yet. He's a physical dude, and he's got crazy reach, guys. He's that guy that had like a 36-inch reach. He's like 36, 37-inch reach. I mean, he's a huge guy, man. Huge dude. Still fundamentally flawed. I think a lot of folks don't take into consideration both teams have to agree and benefit from a trade. Draft Jameis Winston, trade for Calvin Ridley, draft Robinson, running back from Alabama, sign Cam Sims, and free agency. I'm taking whatever I can get for Minshew, Dillard, and Josiah Scott. I'm getting more capital, but that's just me. I don't know they're going to trade Josiah Scott showing up because Josiah Scott gives you that ability to play inside in case of an injury. He's a really good short zone football player, meaning he can steal the football. And to be honest with you, Josiah Scott is an incredible special teams player. He's the kind of guy that makes a ton of sense on the back end of your roster. So I don't know that they would trade him unless someone's just being stupid with the value for him. Trading away competent O-line for a defensive end. Really only worth a 4th-round pick? Nah, you're not getting really for a 4th-round pick, guys. That's not going to happen. And he's certainly worth more than that. I got to disagree. Seumalo's contract, I would keep teams from giving the Eagles a 4th-round pick. Might keep teams from getting. I don't think it's that expensive to keep. Andrew said taking away competent O-line. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It posted you like a few times there, Andrew. Yeah, Bishop, let me continue the roast. I can see 10 O-linemen going in the first. Ooh, 10 out of 32? I don't know. That'd be pretty high. As I look at the list, I'll say the way I see it working out is Evan Neal, Charles Cross, my bad, guys. Tyler Linderbaum, Ekwonu. Raymond may possibly go there. Kenyon Green, I think, has a possibility of going there. Darion Kinnard, I think, has a possibility. And I would say maybe, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to say maybe Faalele goes there, 8. So I'm going to say 8. Maybe you get lucky in Trevor Penning. Trevor Penning is another guy that's kind of borderline. Maybe a Penning or teams that just need guards like a Zion Johnson might push it to that 10-figure NFC beast, but I think it's going to be around 8, guys. I mean, I would love it if 10 go because it's just going to, for the Eagles' sake, it's going to keep sliding the draft board. Along with the quarterbacks and these linemen, it'll just completely shift the draft board down, which will be it definitely helps us, guys. No doubt about it would help us, man. What's up, Pork Chops? Perhaps we could keep Minshew if Hurts is not showing any progress by week 10. Then we put Minshew in and build his trade value if he plays good to a 3rd-round pick. You can't really increase his trade value though because by week 10 you're past the trade deadline, and then also you're on the last year of an expiring rookie contract. So you would have to first work out an extension. Then, I don't think that would happen. Bishop said it's impossible to predict top 15 picks till after the combine and off the field stuff comes out. Players will rise and fall. Yeah, that's very true. You're not wrong. Trading away depth on the O-line is bad. However, if it's not if you can find players cheaper, showing up and younger to fill in. Dillard and Seumalo aren't spectacular. So, I mean, I would say Seumalo is very, very good. Dillard is very solid. But, it's a matter of is Seumalo your future center? If Seumalo is the guy that is going to be your starting center, then you don't trade him. If he's not going to be your starting center and you've got Dickerson, you got Driscoll, I mean, yeah, then he becomes, a guy that's been injured a lot. I mean, he's expendable at that point. I think that's really what it comes down to. Exactly, Andrew. Driscoll and Seumalo are very good players. They just get injured often, disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I wish they could stay on the field, man. If by some way Pickett drops to 15 for you, you think Howie bites? Possibly, possibly pork chops. It is very possible. I'm not going to say no. He wouldn't bite there because it's possible. That's definitely a possibility. Man, get that first round Linderbaum stuff out of here. Ain't spending no first on a center. It's undersized. Juju was a USC wide receiver, right? What up, Gay City? Jamie Newman has a big arm and still didn't even make the practice squad. Yeah, I don't know. Jamie Newman, I think it must have been, from what I understand, Red Eagles, that he must have not have been there in terms of his ability to read coverage yet. I just think that they felt it was too much of a project to have back behind there. I still think he would have made what's the difference between him and Reed Sinnett? I thought he was worth a look. I thought that, the underlying talent was there. But I mean, hey, I wasn't there. To be fair, I wasn't there to see what happened during the summer, to see how far the development would need to be. Now, if I was there watching him try to progress and read defenses, I might have said, oh, yeah, you got to get rid of this kid. So it's hard to say. I mean, I like what I saw on film from him at Wake Forest. Free agency, Honey Badger, Gilmore, and Clowney. Wide receiver Cam Sims is cheap, and they trade a second, Dillard and Rager, for Calvin Ridley. It's a lot of movement, man. At Alabama, Dickerson was the top offensive lineman in the nation as a center. Marky Mack said Driscoll at center. Interesting. I haven't heard that before. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, he played early on in his career, collegiate career, I should say, at center. He's got the versatility to play there, and he's definitely a guy that has the movement. Now, do the Eagles view him that way, Marky Mack? I don't know, but there's been rumors before that he could potentially move over there. I still think that they would probably look to Seumalo first to play there. I don't know why they love Herbig in that spot, but they love Herbig at that spot at center. So, I mean, who knows what they're going to do ultimately. We have two centers on the squad right now that start at guard. The Eagles had 4 center guards, center under contract last year. A late round development guard or tackle is all I think they need right now. Do not sleep on my guy. Coyote, how you say his name, man? Owasika. Like, I don't know how you say his name, but I'm definitely driving the bus for him, man. That's my guy. I honestly think I think the Eagles got credible value there with him. I don't know if he's going to turn into anything, guys, but, I thought they got incredible value for him. Jeffrey said, if we can get Sauce and Dean back to back, man, that Vic will improve the defense immediately. Those picks. I'm not willing to go another year with Hurts. I'm willing to go 2 more quarters. If Hurts improves, you'll be able to see it within the first 2 quarters. I disagree with that show enough, man. Your competition, things like that can vary that, man. I think I don't know what you mean by quarters. You mean quarters of a game? Or are you talking about like quarters of the season? Are you saying like 10 to 12 games will give you it? Or I didn't know what you mean by quarters, buddy. BLSG said, well, Dickerson where he is right now at left guard with Mailata, so I would not do him at center unless it was an emergency move. I haven't seen Seumalo at center that much, and can Driscoll stay on the field? Well, I mean, it's a fair question, BLSG, but they don't lack talent. The talent is certainly there, man. Not yet, and maybe not ever, should head coach Nick Sirianni be compared to head coach Zach Taylor. I don't know what you mean by that, but to be fair, Zach Taylor was not very good until he got a lot of talent around him, man. I also like Herbig at guard. The way I've seen him, he is trash at center. Yeah, I don't know why they like Herbig so much at center, but they do. And to be fair, I wouldn't say that he's trash at center, BLSG. I don't think that's fair. It's really difficult to come off the bench cold and play center, to be fair. I don't know that he has the requisite athleticism, though. I mean, he's a big dude. He's hard to move off the football. But I don't know that he's quite the athlete that you want playing center. OBJ impressed me with his hands all the way. He protects the way he protects the football. What do you think about Jarvis Landry coming to Philly? I mean, Jarvis Landry is a solid player. He's a good football player. At one point in time, Jarvis Landry was, I mean, far above what we have here. I mean, guys that like Tyler Boyd, I mean, say that Tyler Boyd would be a good fit in Philly, then I think he would say that Jarvis Landry would be a good fit in Philly. I don't know that they give you the explosion like Christian Kirk does, but in terms of just getting a solid veteran that is dependable, can get the football, I mean, it's a solid pickup, man. What's up, one above all? How you doing, buddy? So do you see value in the yards per route run stat, and that stat translating to how good a wide receiver will be, and where can I get that info? Yards run per route, I can't. It's either PFF or that's Pro Football References. It's one of those two, I think, measures that stat. I can't remember which one. I have to look again. One above all. I believe it's PFF because I think PFF was the one that said that the statistic that translates the best to the NFL was the yards run per run. My lord, the yards run per route. My bad, guys. So I think that's a PFF stat, but I'll find out for you, man. I kind of got the feeling that the Colts were glad to be rid of Clark. Spotty O-line play at best, according to them. I mean, yeah, he's definitely spotty, Andrew. I don't think that's incorrect, but I mean, Stoutland must have seen something to want to keep him. You know what I mean? It's Robinson's market value doesn't mean he'll get it. It would be great if Hurst develops and we get something great next year. Yeah, no kidding. I agree, man. I'm not. One above all said, "Are you as big on Linderbaum as everyone else is?" Because I'm not sold. No, I think Linderbaum is solid. I think he's going to be a really good athlete in the NFL. I think he's going to be a good center. I don't think that I see the athleticism that translates to Jason Kelce. I do think that Linderbaum is one of the best inside zone guys I've watched film on in quite some time. I'd say at least the last 4 or 5 years in terms of the blocking ability. I definitely think when you're looking at doubling the interior defensive lineman and climbing up to that second level and cutting off the linebackers, I definitely think that it's there with Linderbaum. But I don't think that initial release off the hike and that twitch to get out there and on gap blocking schemes, pulling schemes is there. He was great at low for a reason, guys. It's not there with him. And perhaps it develops in the NFL when he becomes like this once in a generation type talent out there. But I don't think so, man. I just think he's going to be a really good center. I don't see him going in the top 12 picks. I'm not going to say he doesn't go in the top 20 because I do think that teams will look at what he can do in terms of zone blocking and say that dude's worth it. But I'm not sold on him going top 10. Arguable if he goes around 12. Possibly he goes top 20. He's probably definitely going first round, somewhere before pick 32. But yeah, I didn't see some of that, man. Coyote Owasika. I'm the president of the fan club, James. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Ugh, tough to call him Joe Burrow, man. I think their style of play is a little different. Lemonade T say, yeah, Josiah Scott is criminally underrated as a special teams talent. Exactly, Lemonade T. I like Josiah Scott as the back end of your roster in terms of like secondary players. If Daniel Hunter from Miami shakes loose, we should jump. I'm sorry, Minnesota. Danielle Hunter, the defensive end. Got you, Bishop. Yeah, I mean, crazy athlete, right? It'd be really interesting to compare, or not compare him, but to pair him, with our rotation at defensive end. Milton Williams having that inside-outside, flexibility and versatility. Then you got a guy like Josh Sweat, who's an incredible athlete. Pair that with Danielle Hunter, who's also a really good athlete. Would be interesting. Linderbaum is 4 to 5 pounds lighter than Kelce. That's not much. Yeah, it's not about how light you are, though. It's about being that light and not having the twitch that Kelce has, not having that initial instinct and release. It's not there, man. He's just not a good gap player yet. Between 6 and 8, Takeem, do you think in the first round? I think the West Virginia cornerback shows promise. He should go later in the draft. What round does first running back come off the board? I'm thinking late second, early third. Probably somewhere in the second round, Bishop. What's up, Dante? How you doing, buddy? Jaquan Brisker at 19 would be a steal. You think he's a steal at 19, Jaquan Brisker? I think that's a little early for Brisker. I like Brisker, and I think Brisker might have a possibility of sneaking in to the back end of the first round. But unless those – now, Elbet, here's the thing. We haven't had the combine. We haven't had pro days. You haven't had those things, and it can move them. But right now, I would think that 19 would be a little early for him. But there's still an opportunity for him to climb up in that kind of consideration. But right now, I would say he's more of an early second, late first kind of talent. Long and Strong said, we got to give Hurts a shot. Even Burrow in the playoffs said most of your power comes from your core and hips. Let him study defenses and show his progression. My bad, Gate. 2 quarters of the first game of 2022. I believe we should be able to see something different that has improved with Hurts within the first 2 hours of football, even if he loses the game. I think that's showing enough. You got to give him more than that, man. You got to give him more than that. What do you think Miles Sanders' trade value can get us? I don't know, Elbet. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't think you're going to get a day 1 pick. I doubt you'd get a second round pick. You might be able to get a 4th round pick for him. I even think 3rd round pick's a bit of a stretch. I just don't think teams value running backs like that, man. I don't. Especially running backs that, although Miles Sanders doesn't have a ton of usage, he hasn't taken a ton of handoffs for the Eagles. He's been injured a lot. A lot of little nagging injuries with him. So not too sure the value's there to really make that worth it. I think he might be a better value to us instead of trading him, honestly, because I don't think you're going to get that incredible value for him. Wide receiver should be able to say Hurts been working in the offseason. I don't think the work is the issue, though, Shona. Gate, how do you feel about Sua Peta? Nobody mentions him, but he impressed me by the way he moves and blocking downfield. I still don't think he's the greatest of the athletes we got on the team, Andrew, to be honest, but I do think that he had a better playoff game than I was anticipating him having. He definitely played better than I thought he was going to play. As a guy that if you moved on from Sayamalu and you traded him out because there's just a team that was needy for a center or a guard and you feel like, okay, we'll figure out the center later and Kelsey's coming back. I definitely think that he could be a guy that plays, either side, left or right, in terms of your guard play. I think the only thing that really holds him back is I don't think he's really a tackle. So I don't think he gives you the versatility to play tackle, and I have never heard of him playing center. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying it's a big unknown. You know what I mean? Like, I have no clue if he can give you that kind of versatility. And of course, as a backup offensive lineman, that holds you back a little bit. But in terms of left guard, right guard, I thought he was decent. Chaos said, I can't wait till free agency. See what the Eagles are going to do in terms of the O-line and D-line. Hey, bro, Hurts needs to work with Tom House to improve his deep ball accuracy. James, the way I look at it is I don't think that's the most pressing need. Deep ball accuracy is something that can get better quite easily. A lot of quarterbacks struggle with it. They're either long striders or short striders. Hurts is a short strider. I don't think that's something that we should overly become worried about. I just think that you can easily improve that. I think he needs to work on being in rhythm with the offense. He needs to learn how to hit that rhythm step and get the ball out when it's there. Read the leverage of the defense and know when you hit the rhythm step, the ball should be out. Not wait for a guy to get open and hesitate. Throw it before. If you get to your rhythm step and the leverage isn't right, the leverage isn't right, then you need to hitch. You hitch up and you get to that second read. I do think that people think that if you're a 2-read quarterback, 1 to 2 read quarterback, that means you can't succeed in the NFL. And I say that 3-read quarterbacks occur in the NFL because they can't run. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's complex, right? I think you truly find magic in guys that have the ability to get through 3 reads and also the athleticism to take off on a second read if necessary. That's really the magic. Can you get a guy that can be a nice middle ground? It's hard to say, man. Those dudes are not easy to find, right? We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, man. I'm not going to say either way. If we don't land Sauce, I'm okay with signing Charjavius Ward at cornerback. Sorry, guys. however you spell his name. I got you, man. I still draft a cornerback, though. I mean, I think there's opportunities, even at 15 and 16, maybe even 19 to get corners. I like here Elam out of Florida. I definitely think he fits what we're going to try to do. Got to get better in zone, but I think he's definitely a tough guy that he could be a problem in a man system. Somebody undo that timeout, please. I didn't see you got timed out, guys. Okuda may be available. What do you think? You talking Jeff Okuda? Hard to say, man. I got to watch film before I speak definitively here. NFC East Beast on him. I mean, solid technician, didn't seem to have the requisite athleticism for whatever reason. Not too sure what happened there, guys. What are your thoughts on Teron Jackson? I was pretty high on him last year coming out of the draft. He was a guy that I liked a lot coming out of Coastal Carolina. I don't think that he's the greatest athlete in the world, but I do think that his initial pass rush move is devastating. He's pretty good at that spin move, James. I don't know. Gate City Vita Vea showed that Kelsey should get his weight up, but not everyone is Vita Vea. To be fair, Vita Vea won on one rep. If you watch the whole game, show enough, and I had Caleb and Jalen breaking it down, Vita Vea lost that matchup. Kelsey beat him overall. I mean, he got Kelsey on a couple of snaps, but Kelsey won more snaps than he lost. I thought Kelsey was really good in that game, actually. He had the one really bad pass pro set where he got knocked back, but he was pretty good in that game. Stout made Big V a starting tackle and Jordan, so we should trust whatever he thinks. Tyler Algier from BYU. Have you watched him at all? Not. I mean, I've seen guys and I've watched some film here and there, but it takes time to get coaches film guys. So sometimes, like, you have to wait 10 to 12 days before you, even if you get it, to get it accepted. Sometimes they won't even accept it, guys. You won't be able to get it. And you have to just basically comb through and see if anyone that you know has access to it. Should the Eagles draft another running back? I'm disappointed in Sanders. He really baffles me. They should, especially if they find a guy that they think fits the scheme. Andreas Pete is a great right guard. The Saints are in cap purgatory. Are the Eagles good on the O-line? Thoughts? I think they're good on the O-line, sure. Will they be content? Who knows? What's up, Box? Honestly, quarterbacks can play until they're 50. If Tom Brady comes back, give your 3 first-round picks, Hurts, Minshew in a second, and sign him for 5 years. Sign who, Box? I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm sorry, man. Quarterbacks can't play till they're 50, man. Come on now. I get what you're saying, that the league is different and dudes can play longer in their careers, but not everybody's going to want to play that long. It's still a grind. Bishop says, show enough, save some roasting for the Washington football team and whatever dumb name they pick. One of all, that's my sleeper. Bishop, it's the Admirals. Putting Smitty in the slot is still stupid. I don't think it's stupid, but I mean, I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish by doing it. That's worse than you thought. Somehow no one talks about Tyler. Good speed, good build. Got you, can catch. He needs to be in Philly. Let's get Smitty hit by linebackers and safeties all game. Why not? He's not going to get hit by safeties and linebackers, man. You're not going to come up and try to press him like that. And if you aim downfield, man, it's a penalty in today's game. Can't really do it. I disagree, Shonuff. I think it depends on what you're trying to get. I think it really depends upon what you're trying to scheme. Coach, would you acquire Michael Thomas from New Orleans? Probably not because of the cost. To be honest, James, not that I don't like the player. I think the player's incredible, but I mean, it depends upon the cost. How much am I going to have to give up to get that guy, and what does that contract look like? Sometimes it's easy to look at a contract and think that you got to pay the cap hit, and that's not true. Normally, you're only on the hook for the base salary, so it depends upon how much money is tied up into that base salary. Shonuff, you need to watch more of his college film, man, to see what he was able to do. The one thing you guys are discounting, Shonuff, and I got to disagree with you, man. You're in the wrong on this one. Is that you guys are discounting how good he is at identifying holes in zone and sitting down. I'm telling you, Smitty can play the slot if you needed him to. It's not where they're going to play him on a down-to-down basis. But if you're sitting there and you're trying to hitch him up, and they've done it before, you're either going to bring him tight to formation to get him in the read for that, or you're going to play him in the slot to do it. I'm not saying you convert him into a full-time slot wide receiver, but I definitely think you're discounting how good he is at identifying zone and keeping himself free from hits. Hurts don't have the arm strength to maximize Smith on the outside. I disagree with you there. He's got plenty of arm strength. If Jimmy G was available for a first, Hurts, and let's say a second, would you take him? No, want no part of Jimmy G. That's fool's gold. Or Watkins. Tom Brady, absolutely not. I hope he is 170 coming into next season. And that baseball elbow brace says he couldn't take it this year. Senior Bowl this week, Richie? Yeah, man, the Senior Bowl practice will be awesome, man. Sanders is injury prone, but he has all the talent in the world to be a top 5 back. I don't know if he's quite that, but Eagles clip, he's better than a lot of people think, to be honest. I definitely think he's a top 12 back when he's healthy, but to be fair, he's always looking for the home run hit, and he doesn't take what the defense gives him at times, which costs us yards. I don't think he always is aware of the backside cutback on inside zone. I think that there are times where, it's like, oh, man, how did you not see that? Like, it was wide open. Like, Lane Johnson did such a good job cutting off the backside, and you didn't get to that. I mean, no one's going to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Gate, keep up the great work. Wes Brooks said on the radio recently that Hurts can't throw accurately to the left. I don't know if the issue is that he can't throw accurately to the left. I think that's a bit of an undersimplification of what's going on, or an oversimplification, I guess is the right way of saying that. I don't think it's that he's not accurate throwing to the left. I think he's got a general issue with timing on the football, when to throw the football. And to be fair, throwing to the left is throwing in most of the time. Throwing to your left is going to be throwing into the boundary side of the defense. I know I'm late, but what are your thoughts about Daniel Faalele? I can't say his name right now, guys. Massive human being, fundamentally flawed. Plays violently. Really, really athletic dude. Used a lot in gap blocking. He's very similar to the way the Eagles like to use Jordan Mailata, like the way they like to get him out on space and just run guys over. They did the same thing with him, and he's a great athlete, guys. Hurts doesn't have the arm strength, but he overthrows Quez Watkins on one of the fastest receivers in the league. Yeah, Eagles clip, that was a bad take. I think he was trying to make some kind of point, but I don't know what he was talking about there, man. It's not an arm strength issue with Jalen Hurts. He's got a flawed throwing base on deep. Passes over 25 yards, basically. And then, to be fair, he's late getting through the read. So what ends up happening is he's waiting. So when he hits his rhythm step, you should be really making a decision on the leverage based upon that corner, what you see in the coverage. And then you should be at that point either hitching and getting to your second read, or you should be making a decision to get the ball out of your hands. He kind of gets to the rhythm step, stops, hitches, doesn't go to the second read, but then waits for the first read to kind of come open, and that's messing up the timing of the play. That's what I mean when I say, guys, that he doesn't always play in rhythm with the offense. That's something that has to be fixed. He's got to get better at it. I hear you, Gate City, but I don't see no team putting their star wide receiver in the slot. Now, is there plays where Smitty lines up in the slot? Yes, but do you want Smitty to start at the slot? No, you're not going to start him at the slot. He'll play. He's going to play a certain amount of reps there. No, you're not going to start him there. Treylon Burks is good talent. Yeah, I don't disagree. Smitty will be going off next season. I think so, too. I think Smitty's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. I think that's a definite. I'm excited to see how much Smitty improves from where he is right now to what he's going to be next year. I expect Smitty to have a huge, huge season. And I don't care if that's even if you bring another guy in. I think all that does is take the pressure off of Smitty, because you can't just sit there and just roll your coverage to Smitty all day long if you got another dude that can beat you. Quez is that big splash player. Quez is your splash player. He's the guy that can beat you over the top. He's the guy that can, take those dump offs on the tunnel screen and take it to the house on you. Like, that's what I would like to see. What's up? What's up, Tarak? How you doing, buddy? The Dinosaur Hunter. I like the name, man. Morning, fellas. After watching those Bengals make the Birds look far away from competing in near future, does it though, Vester? Because that was a 2-year turnaround, man. They were a 2-win team. You heard the announcer say it. just a couple seasons ago. That's how they got Joe Burrow, right? Then you turn around and they were picking right ahead of the Eagles in 2022 or 2021. My bad, guys. They were picking right ahead of the Eagles in 2021. So, I mean, to me, that would just go to show you that if you make the right choices, you make the right choices in this draft, you make the right choices in free agency, you can quickly become that, man. You can quickly become that. You can turn things around quickly. I honestly think that we should say, like, hey, man, like, if you get the right thing built around this team, it's there. I mean, look, Jimmy G is complete fool's gold, guys. He's completely fool's gold. But even with fool's gold at quarterback in San Francisco, that team is built so well. I mean, they were legit Super Bowl contenders. We saw that. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, and they fought a team that was probably far superior in talent from the skill set positions. I mean, you can say San Francisco is not a slouch. I mean, obviously Deebo Samuel and obviously Ayuk, who 2020 vision was really high on. He was on something with Ayuk. Those guys are no slouches. You know, obviously Kittle's not a slouch. I'm not saying that, guys, but you know, even with Jimmy G there, fool's gold, they were good. I mean, I think that just shows you if you build the talent around a team, you can do something, man. You can definitely do something. I said some, I'm not nuts. And I agree, it's more accuracy with Hurts and Smith being more of a timing type guy. What about Isaiah, likely tight end from Coastal Carolina? Elbet, I haven't really got into the full aspects of tight ends. That's going to be tomorrow's video more than likely. We're going to be talking tight ends. Today we were just doing offensive linemen. But tomorrow we're going to go over the tight end class. I think you got a really good class coming out of the SEC at tight ends. Not that Coastal Carolina is an SEC team, but everyone's saying Hurts can't make that Josh Allen jump, but I hope he does. I mean, look, I'm not – I think it depends on what you define as the Josh Allen jump. Can he make the jump in production the way Josh Allen did? I think so. Now, is he ever going to have Josh Allen's arm talent? It would take him 15, 20 years of constant progress to ever put that kind of ball velocity up. Like, you have to really build your arm up, guys. It doesn't just happen overnight. But I disagree with Quentin Michael and Jason Avant. I think that they're wrong. And if someone was there that knew the position well enough to push back against them, what does arm strength have to do with reading a defense? Josh Allen couldn't read defenses. Josh Allen had a flawed throwing base. There are clear similarities between Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen's ability to read and play within the structure of an offense. That's what people are talking about. No one's talking about the actual physical talent level of the arm. But your arm strength has absolutely nothing to do with reading a defense. They're wrong in that. And Howie we trust? Gonna have to. Yeah, Jimmy G just isn't a franchise guy. Hurts' bad pass percentage was 20.9%, while Hurts posted a league high 28.4. Hurts 18.8% average target depth, 8.8 yards, sack rate 5.7%, average receiving yak, 5.7 drop rate. Kenny Pick equals Joe Burrow 2.0. I don't know. Like, that's a tough one, Takeem. I don't know that he's Joe Burrow. I can see the similarities in terms of them being small hand quarterbacks, fast processors that play with a little moxie, a little guts. They're not tremendous athletes, but they're good athletes. I definitely get the comp, Takeem. I get what you're comping there. I see it as well. But I don't want to give people the illusion that Kenny Pickett is Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that that's an accurate statement. But, I mean, Kenny Pickett is, I definitely think is not, I don't think he's got the requisite talent to be a top 5 pick in most draft classes. But because he's a quarterback and because it's not a phenomenal draft class, although I do think that, I think Kenny Pickett is good and I think Corral can play. I think those two guys have potential, but I don't think that they're surefire locks this year. And I wasn't a guy that thought that, to be fair, Takeem, I didn't think Joe Burrow was a lock when he was picked. I knew the guy had talent, but I didn't think he was a lock. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, Kenny Pickett deserves an opportunity. I'll give you that, man. You think so, Takeem? I see Pickett as a Stafford with more picks thrown. No, he doesn't have Stafford's arm, man. Stafford's got a way better arm. Kenny Pickett is more. He's yes, from the physical standpoint of what he is. Sure enough, he's Kenny Pickett's more like Joe Burrow. Smaller arm quarterback. He operates your offense. He's got the moxie. He plays tough. He's a good athlete. He's not a great athlete. He's not a sitting duck, though, in the pocket. He's more of those things, guys. Holy crap, you guys have kept me here for 2 hours. I don't know how y'all do this sometimes. I just realized we've been on here for 2 hours. All right, guys, I'm about to end this here soon, but I'm going to read a few more of your comments, okay? L Betts at 8-7 as a starter, playoff bound. Give the guy some credit. When is the draft this year? It's normally late April, guys, somewhere around April 20-something. I don't have the exact date, guys. I'll look it up for you, though. We'll talk about it at the end of the – I'll look it up, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, guys. I'll give you the dates and everything. Since this is an O-line chat, I'm digging deep here. Here you watched Cole Strange from Chattanooga or Tyler Smith from Tulsa. Tyler Smith I have run film on. I like Tyler Smith. I haven't had a chance to watch Strange yet. When above all, I'll have to get to his film, and I'll let you know what I think of him. What's your thoughts on Tua? I think Tua's in that awkward area, right? Tua's in that area where either he's going to progress his game and he's going to be a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. You know, he's going to be that middle 14 to 18, or he's going to become a bridge guy, right? He's gonna eventually become a bridge quarterback, which is a guy that's good enough to play in the league. If you build a good enough team around him, he could probably win games for you and maybe even do really quite well, but he's never going to be viewed as a franchise guy or that middle. He's in that area, right, where it's got to happen, man. Hand size of Matt Corral. I don't know that one yet, Richie. I'll look it up, though. We're going to talk quarterbacks on Friday, guys. Friday's topic going to be quarterbacks. Pickett doesn't have Matthew Stafford's arm. Exactly, Takeem. Yeah, Matthew Stafford has a way better arm. You didn't have Burrow as a lock? Wow. No, I didn't. I'll be honest, Antonio. I didn't have him as a lock. Sounds like Stafford with a weaker arm. Appreciate you. What's up, Eagles Clips? Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Matthew Stafford impressed me. Yeah, he's okay. Gate, when will you be reviewing the linebackers for this draft? I already did, Jake. Last week's videos. If you go back to last week's live streams, you'll see the one I did for linebackers. In terms of individual prospects, we're going to start player profiles next week. What if we brought Foles back? I know it's a pipe dream, but he could do something. I think you only do that if you know that Jalen Hurts isn't your guy. Like I think you got to figure out, pork chops, whether or not Jalen Hurts is the guy first. And then you make a move for a veteran-type quarterback like that to kind of be a bridge guy, right? Because I would consider Nick Foles to be a bridge guy at this point. He's a guy that you bring on until you find your quarterback. That's kind of how I view him, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. 2 hours and 2 minutes you guys hung in here. Thank y'all so much. Tomorrow we'll be back. We're going to talk tight ends, guys. Get ready. It's going to be an interesting conversation about tight ends because I do think the Eagles have a need for tight end. I don't know how high they'll pick a tight end. I'm not saying that, but I definitely think there's a need on the team, and we probably should be looking, man. Man, if Riddler falls from Cincinnati, you like Riddler? Thanks, Gate. Let me know what you think about Chad Muma. I like him a lot, man. Late dude. Thank you, Gate. No problem, guys. Great job, you the man. See you bright and early. Thank you, Antonio. All right, guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow.